Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of title tracks, exploring songs that share a title with the album that they come from. Today we're going to be looking at Fleet Foxes' Helplessness Blues from the 2011 album Helplessness Blues. I feel like sometimes these intros for this week are a bit redundant, but it also feels right to say it. Let's dive in, see what Fleet Foxes is bringing to the table today.
I was raised up believing I was somehow unique, like a snowflake, distinct among snowflakes, unique in each way you can see. And now after some thinking, I'd say I'd rather be a functioning cog in some great machinery, serving something beyond me. But I don't know what that will be. I'll get back to you someday soon. You will see. What's my name? What's my station? Oh, just tell me what I should do. I don't need to be kind to the armies of night that would do such injustice to you, or bow down and be grateful and say, sure, take all that you see. To the men who move only in dimly lit halls and determine my future for me. And I don't know who to believe. I'll get back to you someday soon. You will see. If I know
Really hanging on to that note right there.
it's that everything that I see of the world outside is so inconceivable. Often I barely can speak. Yeah, I'm tongue-tied and dizzy, and I can't keep it to myself. What good is it to sing helplessness blues? Why should I wait for anyone else? And I know you will keep me on the shelf. I'll come back to you someday soon.
I was hoping there was a little bit more to this.
If I had known
Ooh, that really warm harmony though.
I'd work till I'm wrong. If I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm sore. And you would wait tables and soon run the store. Gold hair in the sunlight, my light in the dawn. If I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm sore.
Very different vibe too. This is more
If
positive.
I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm sore. Oh,
Yeah, not only is it more positive, but it's warmer, it's lush.
Someday I'll be like the man on the screen.
Wait, that's it? Something about that last sentence, someday I'll be like the man on the screen. It just, melodically, it doesn't have finality to it. It's also one single line rather than two lines or four lines, something even. I was kind of surprised to find the song just end at that point. So the song's really split into two portions then, isn't it? We have the first part, which is just guitar and vocal. Um, and it's, I don't know how to describe it. Part of it almost feels wistful, but not in like a nostalgia kind of way. It doesn't feel like positively remembering the past, but it doesn't feel like the now either. At least not. See, the thing is, so I don't know that I would have come to this statement if it wasn't for the end of the track. The end of the track is very here and present and uplift. Maybe not uplifting. It's positive though. Without that context, I don't think the ending feels, or the beginning feels as, it's not even really somber. It's decidedly less joyful than the end. And by itself, I didn't pick up on that. But when you put the two together, you're like, oh, yeah, dude, this really has a huge uplift in those final couple of minutes. It puts an interesting spin on the beginning because, like I said, it makes it feel like something's missing. And I don't know if that's like a sorrowful kind of missing. I don't know if it's missing the past. Something or someone was there in his past that isn't now, and he misses them. It's just the beginning feels like there's a piece missing, but it only feels that way because of the end. It's retroactively understood to be that way, which is a pretty cool way of writing any kind of story, but very interesting in music. You know, storytelling, film, books, that kind of stuff. It's pretty commonplace to leave out information and then fill it in later. I think as story enjoyers, people who watch films or read books, they've kind of gotten to a point where they understand that maybe not all the information is given to us immediately. But in music, I don't feel like we really get that often. Lyrically, sure. Stanzas, verses, and choruses that have, you know, they make their own sense, but they take a different turn when you hear the final line of the song or something like that. But musically, I don't think that happens very often. And I find myself really appreciating the decision to do that here. To create a part of a song that gains emotional relevancy based on what comes after it. You really have to analyze it based on the entirety of the song, which you can't have on that first time listen. That's impressive. Like I had mentioned though, it's done with just two vocals, I think, and two guitars. The guitars are just, it's very indie rock, acoustic guitars, playing chords, not a lot of uh, density to it, not a lot of intricacy to it. It's a very straightforward section. I do like the vocal harmonies though. And it's just a generally comfortable sound. I think it's generally palatable. I think you'd have a hard time finding anybody who would say that this sounds terrible. It's one of those things that's just like across the board palatable. Even if it's not your jam, it's not abrasive in any way. Then we had a couple layers to it. Once we hit like 3.5 minutes in and we changed the song up a little bit. We have a big bass drum coming in, I assume it could be the bass kick of a drum kit, but it feels bigger than that to me, and it feels like the mallet is larger too. Comes to mind for me is a big, orchestral bass drum. I don't think it's quite that large, but it definitely sits somewhere. I mean, it could also be production too. Using a bass kick on a drum kit and then producing it to sound larger, or even using it to trigger a sample of an orchestral bass drum. Regardless, it does feel a bit larger though. We also have a vaster, as a word, more vocal stacks in the harmony. The beginning didn't feel isolating. I think it would need one guitar and one vocal to really go for that style. But again, in contrast, it is way more singular than what we get at the end, which feels more layered, more of a group. There's like 6 or 7 vocals there at the end. And it's a beautiful harmony that couldn't be achieved in the first one. There's just not enough voices for it. Again, not to say that the first vocal harmony wasn't gorgeous. I really like that stack too, but it's less detailed. It's 2 voices versus like 6, 7, 8. And you just can't get as much color in it. And this is like, I mean, going with color, I was going with the color of the instruments, which is a way of describing their specific characteristics and timbre. Um, but even going with the more literal version of color, it's like painting with, an 8-pack of crayons versus a 64-pack of crayons. You have more hues to work with in the 64-pack. You can create more vivid pictures with more diversity. Instead of just green, you can have shades of green. It creates something that is not necessarily objectively more gorgeous, but the density will be more gorgeous to me, usually. I really like lush sounds. And when you pair the expanded vocal work with with the percussion at all, which feels very now, very moving forward, very almost marching like. And you also bring together the expanded instrumentation here at the end, the extra melodies. We don't just have chords under the vocals, we have melodic lines too. It just feels deeper, more dense. I mean, that's the difference between what sounds like it could be just 2 people versus a full band. You're going to get something with a bit more clarity and a bit more color to it. But honestly, that's really the only difference between the 2 sections. I don't think there's a harmonic element that differs between them. I think the chord progression is generally similar. My ear isn't strong enough to say, oh yeah, those are the exact same chords. But the vibe of it all feels very similar. I think it's primarily the production and the instrumentation that changes the vibe, the atmosphere of these 2 parts. And I think that's an interesting idea in and of itself, to reinterpret something that's already written and changing the way it feels, not by writing new parts, but by adding on top of it. I guess you're going to add new parts, not by changing the original parts, but by simply adding to them. And I've actually done this myself too. I have a song on my channel called Getting Better. And I think we kick it off with an oboe in the middle of the track. And the section is rather melancholy. I give that same exact line to a trumpet. I don't transpose it. I don't change the key. It's the exact same notes, but there's a vastly different idea that sits around it. Violins and flutes and also and a choir, and it feels optimistic now. The melody hasn't changed at all, but its circumstance has, and I think that's what's happening here. We don't actually change what was originally written, we just expand upon it, add new things around it to recontextualize it. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do. And I think that's about it. It's a rather simple song. on the surface at least, but simplicity doesn't necessarily mean bad or easy to digest either. It just means that they achieved what they needed to with a smaller amount of ideas, and sometimes that's all you need. This feels very rooted and down to earth because of that. It doesn't feel expansive or vast or epic. Sometimes you're just trying to tell a small story, and having a simpler composition is the best way to do that. Let me hit some lyrics on this and see what's going on there. This is an interesting track lyrically. It seems to struggle with the concept of identity and one's place in the world. The first verse says, I was raised up believing I was somehow unique, like a snowflake distinct among snowflakes, unique in each way you'd conceive. And now after some thinking, I'd say I'd rather be a functioning cog in some great machinery, serving something beyond me. But I don't know what that will be. I'll get back to you someday soon, you will see. So they thought that as an individual they were special, but that they're not too sure they're completely comfortable with this feeling of a singular individualistic like destiny. They want to be something, a part of something bigger. He says, I'd even be fine being a cog in a great machinery, something serving something beyond me, trying to be a part of something bigger. I don't think the two are necessarily mutually exclusive, but I do see where the division of thought comes here. Verse 2, though, is interesting. It goes in a very different direction, though. He says, what's my name? What's my station? Just tell me what I should do. I don't need to be kind to the armies of night that would do such injustice to you, or bow down and be grateful and say, sure, take all that you see, to the men who move in dimly lit halls and determine my future for me. So originally he said he'd like to be part of something larger, but at this point he says that he doesn't want to be just a rank and a name, right? He says he doesn't want to bow down to armies and people who move in dimly lit halls. So he kind of views that there's people who are in control of the world, who control the armies, who have their hand in political ideas throughout the globe, and who determine people's futures for them. And the fact that they do it in dimly lit halls, that they're armies of the night, he views them as negative actors on the world, not people that he believes in. So he wants to be part of a larger idea, but he also wants to believe in the larger idea. He doesn't just want to be a cog in a machine for something that harms people or works against his interests. Verse 3, though, he seems to be going back and forth between this idea of individual pride and societal pride, but also just looking at the world as a whole. He says, if I know only one thing, it's that everything I see of the world outside is so inconceivable. Often I barely can speak. Almost as if saying the world is beautiful, but also so unknowable. I don't know how this fits into this idea of individual versus societal, but I do like the 4 lines by themselves. He then goes on to say, what good is it to sing the Helplessness Blues? Or why should I wait for anyone else? So what good is it to feel sorry for myself? What good is it to wait for someone else to help me? He just seems to be very confused. He doesn't know what he wants. He knows what he doesn't want. He's very clear on that. And he knows that he's trying to reject an old way of thinking, but he's not sure where to take that next step. The outro, which is the different, warmer vibe at the end of the track, originally reading the stanzas, I thought this was going to be it. The beginning is a bit more isolated. 2 voices, 2 guitars, that's it. The end, I already mentioned that the choir, the group of vocals already feels larger. It feels more colorful. I thought that's where the outro was going then, but it doesn't. It says if I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm raw. I'd work till I'm sore. I'd work till I'm sore. It's repeated multiple times. He says, you would wait tables and soon run the store. Gold hair in the sunlight, my light in the dawn. Someday I'll be like the man on the screen. And I think this is interesting. The man on the screen, to me, is going to imply a celebrity of some sort. Even if it's a local celebrity, maybe a local TV anchor, news anchor that everyone loves, or maybe it is a global celebrity, your big Hollywood stars. You don't usually have an average everyday man on the TV screen or up on the projector screen in the theaters. So we have this person who's very down to earth, simple life it seems, and he wants to be special. But this is a direct contrast with the opening of the track. It says, I was raised to think I was special. I want to be something more. And I don't know how to tie all of this together. It's very all over the place. It's trying to capture a lot of ideas simultaneously, and I think it lays down the foundation for it, but it doesn't quite stick the landing on the jump. I want to give him credit for going in this direction. I think this is a topic that we don't see too often in stories in general, but particularly in music lyrics. But I feel like it gets lost along the way. I think if we had razor hone focused on verse 1, the feeling that you were once told you were unique and special, and now you just don't feel that way anymore, and you're fine with that, but you really need to believe in your part of a larger whole. Verse 2, I can kind of feel like it works with that, but it also goes in a different direction. And verse 3 is just tangentially related at best, with the outro not really connected to anything. It starts to lose focus throughout. But I'm curious if that's just my interpretation of Fleet Fox's Helplessness Blues. What did you think of this? Did you enjoy it? Is there anything in here that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation of this song. Please put all of that and any other thoughts you have down into the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.